All right, so if you're thinking about moving to DC, Maryland, Virginia, or in this case, Arlington, Virginia, this is the video for you because today at Open House, Zach and Shawn talk about everything that there is to know about living in Arlington. And of course, if you like this video, keep watching our other ones because every single day we're helping folks from out of state learn about where to move and who to call when they want to make a smooth move to the DMV. Now, if you would like us to help you find your next home, go ahead and give us a call, send us a text, or book a video call with us using the link in the description below. And with that, let's get into the conversation between Zach and Shawn about Arlington, Virginia.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Living in DC. My name is Zach, and today we have with us Shawn Battle with the Battle Group, and he's going to be talking with us about Arlington, Virginia. So, Shawn, just introduce yourself. How long have you been a realtor? What made you get into real estate, and how long have you lived in the area?
Yeah, so my name's Shawn Battle. I have a team of 4 full-time agents, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I've been in the Arlington area for 20 years, originally from Pittsburgh. And you know, what really got me into it was honestly my brother-in-law. We started flipping houses. Prior to this, I was an accountant and I hated my job. I was, you know, if you can relate to me, just sitting in front of a computer all day long and felt like I was just wasting away, you know? Yeah. And so my brother-in-law told me, hey, why don't you come down here? Let's start flipping houses. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So my job was to get my real estate license, and from then I've been doing it full time ever since.
That's cool. Yeah. So you came from Pittsburgh, and you've been in Arlington for around 20 years?
Yeah, originally born and raised in Pittsburgh. I was an accountant up in the New York area, and then moved from the New York area down to here in the early 2000s.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. What's the culture like in Arlington? What's the overall vibe?
I'll tell you what, I've lived all around this area, from Alexandria, Kingstown, Arlington, Falls Church, and Arlington kept me coming back. Not only because I do most of my business here, but because it's just, there's something about it, right? When you live in Arlington, it's walkable. You've got so many choices in restaurants. There's trails, it's close to DC, and it's just honestly a really great place to live.
That's cool. Does it feel a little bit smaller than DC? Does it feel a bit more suburban, or what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. So like, if I can describe the DC area, you have DC in the center, and you have kind of what I call satellite cities around DC.
Sure.
So Arlington is one of them. Tyson's is another. Bethesda. There's a lot of them. And so they are kind of satellite cities, but if you're from the suburbs, you're going to think this is a city. If you're from the city, you're going to think this is suburbs, right?
Okay.
But the difference, I would say, DC is the skyline, right? The DC skyline, there can't be anything higher than, you know, the Washington Monument. But as you cross the river, Arlington overlooks DC, and you've got high rises.
Yeah.
So it's a cool feel, cool look. I love it. I love the access to metro, the access to bike paths, parks, and nightlife.
Okay, so nightlife, that's interesting. That's something that I haven't heard a whole lot about. Are there, what is that like?
I live in North Arlington, so there's North and South Arlington. There are basically 5 stops on the orange line of the metro, and it's called the Roslyn-Ballston corridor. Each stop has something different to offer. The hub is in the center. It's called Clarendon. Clarendon is where everybody wants to go. The young crowd comes in and parties, and you know, you have bars that are open till 2 o'clock in the morning. You have some residents. There's single family homes right there, but there's also some condos and apartment buildings. I live just outside of Ballston, which is kind of the first stop in the Roslyn-Ballston corridor, or the furthest out. But I live in a single family neighborhood just outside of that, so I can walk to that. And what's happened in Ballston is a big transition. There used to be a mall there that was kind of lacking. And so about 2 years ago, they redid the entire mall, and that brought in new restaurants, new bars, and new nightlife. And when I say nightlife, it closes down about like 11, you know, so, but it's
not
outdoor
bad.
dining. It's you know, beer. It's whatever you want is right there. So that's the great thing about it. And you know, for me, living in different areas, there was no walkability like there is here.
Yeah.
And so just having that ability to just say, hey, you know, call my buddy, meet me in Ballston, let's go for a beer. It's perfect for that. And I can walk over there in about 15 minutes.
That's cool. Is the mall,
Yeah.
is it outdoor or indoor?
It's partial indoor, partial outdoor, actually. And it's not like one of these vibrant, crazy malls. It has different stores in it. Is it the most active mall in the world? No, but it's just a good vibe. It's got kind of a range of different stores. It's got a Macy's, right? That's the indoor part.
Okay.
But then it's got a bar, a 3-level bar in it. So
Wow.
there's a lot of options. And it brings in, I would say, kind of the newer trends that are going on. Like South Block is a little, you know, smoothie place. We've got Salt Line, which is a new restaurant, which is a seafood restaurant with an outdoor bar, which is really cool.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of options.
That's cool. So yeah, it does seem like there's a wide variety of like restaurants and shopping there. Is there any other form of entertainment in that like downtown area in Arlington?
Any other form of, I mean, there's shopping. They will, you know, the only thing it's missing is kind of a venue, right? I mean, and I've heard that there's one coming in. There used to be one in Roslyn, but I'm talking like music venue.
Sure.
They do have bands that play at the bars. You know, there's Clarendon Ballroom, which is kind of changed over the years. It's not really Clarendon Ballroom anymore, but that used to bring in some bands and live music like that. But you know, there's parks. It doesn't have to be nightlife.
Sure.
There's plenty of parks to walk to. But you know, great place to live.
So yeah, so you're saying that really the venue that you're looking for that you guys are going to be getting is going to have a stage, which is going to.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the works. I mean, I've heard some stories about it, but you know, there's a place just outside of Arlington that does have the stage that is easily accessible. But in Arlington proper, North Arlington, there isn't. In Alexandria, there's one, but they've been there forever. You know, I think a new kind of stage would be a cool idea for North Arlington. Yeah.
Any events that are specific to Arlington that happen in the parks or anything surrounding holidays or does the city do any events like that?
I mean, there's always public events going on, whether it's shutting down the streets in Ballston and having a food tour, beer tasting, food tastings, things like that. They'll do that. Park-wise, you know, part of the reason we live here is we have young kids, and my wife was like, I need parks. And honestly, there's so many that you don't even know about them all. You'll be walking down the street one time and there's a little hidden park kind of in the trees there, and you're like, I didn't know that existed. This is amazing, you know? So not only are there playgrounds and parks like that, but there's also like Potomac Overlook Park where, you know, it's very wooded and you can walk through trails down to the Potomac River. And you know, Arlington is very good at bringing different venues into the area. There's markets, so they'll bring in what is it called? Food market. Yeah, farmers markets. There's farmers markets all over. So I can walk to a little district called Westover, and they have farmers markets every Sunday. Ballston also has farmers market. Then the courthouse area has a farmers market. So they're all over. Not only that, they were just doing something in Roslyn, and Roslyn is kind of like is the first stop just outside of DC. And it has the high rises, and it was known for more of the business district, but they're trying to change that and bring in more residential into the area, bring in more nightlife. But they were just having trying different ethnic foods and things like that in the streets. So
that's
always
cool.
trying to do something. Yeah. And then they also had a jazz festival in Roslyn. Yeah.
That's sweet. It sounds like there's a really wide variety of things happening in the town, but also just like things to do no matter the day. So
there's so much to do. And that's the thing is like, you know, sometimes you think about, oh, I wish I lived at the beach, or I wished I lived here or there. And then when you actually get down to thinking of it and you think, I'm pretty spoiled for where I live because I have access to so many different types of foods, so much nightlife. trails, parks, access to DC, the airports, metro, it's endless. And so having that at your fingertips is kind of the way of life that I've always wanted. And so that's why I'm here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about Roslyn that's interesting, how it's kind of like the business district of the area. So I know that DC has a huge amount of government jobs, but what are some of the other industries that are really prominent, let's say in Roslyn?
Oh, I mean, the great thing about Arlington, and this is what I tell people, listen, as far as a real estate agent and real estate in this area, not only do you have your government, which is a huge company or a huge job producer in this area, but recently we had Amazon in 2018 announced that they are building HQ2 in South Arlington,
Wow.
which is totally transforming that area. We've seen so much development coming into there in the apartment side of things. And it's bringing a whole new life to South Arlington. But then once that happens, once you have a big announcement like that, then you have other business saying, well, if Amazon can go there, so can we. And since then, we've had Boeing announce that they're having their headquarters here. And then recently Raytheon. So and what I say a lot of times is, recently in the real estate market, we have seen a huge uptick in values. Everywhere in the United States, we've seen, values go up. But what is going to stop those values from going back down, right? We had a huge demand for a long time. What's going to happen when all of the demand goes away? And the good thing about the Arlington market is that we have the security of the federal government and then all of these big companies that are going to be supporting with high-paying jobs. And so that's going to keep the values up in Arlington. That's why I fear, some of these smaller markets in the US that have seen a big uptick in value, they could see the quicker drop. Whereas Arlington, I'm hoping and I'm betting that because we have all of this access, we have the good jobs, and a good nightlife, all that stuff. It's a win-win situation for the area and for real estate values.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I've been learning from a lot of agents is like I've never even been to DC, but a lot of people agree that the security of the federal government in the area is really going to allow things to stay more steady. Whereas where I'm at, like I'm in the Midwest, I'm here in Missouri, and like I'm watching things tank like very quickly. I know someone who bought their house for $250,000, they sold it for $450,000. And now the house is back down to like the 300 something, and it's happened quick. So if you're looking for security for your family, then the DC area is not a bad place to look. So speaking of families, like if you have kids, what kind of schools are you looking at? Is it primarily public schools? Do you guys have good private schools in Arlington? What does that look like?
I mean, you have everything that you want. Great public schools. You do have private schools. There's a lot of people that still send their kids to private school, even though we've got a great public school system. We've also got Catholic schools, religious schools, if you want that access as well. And honestly, from where I live, I can walk to a Catholic school. I can walk to the public schools. That's another great thing about it is a lot of these are very walkable.
We talked about economics and how things are growing, which is a really good sign, and it's hopefully gonna be pretty stable out there. So what does that make the real estate market look like when it comes to someone as a home buyer? Like how much house can you buy for how much now, and what locations in Arlington? Yes.
Arlington it's a high priced area. And what I tell people is, listen, I wasn't able to afford Arlington when I was buying my first place. I bought in Alexandria, and I moved and sold and moved and sold, and was able to build equity. And over the years, then finally bought my house in Arlington, which thankfully for low interest rates, I was able to afford the house that I have. Right now, if you look, the most expensive house that sold this year in Arlington was $4.15 million. There are a lot of that range, from 2 million up to 4 million.
Sure.
Single family homes that are new and beautiful. Depends on where you are. as well. Naturally, different neighborhoods are going to have different prices. All the way down to condo, you could get down in South Arlington off a 4 Mile Run. You could get one for about $150,000, 1 bedroom condo. So that's the range. Now, if you're looking in North Arlington along the Orange Line, you're going to spend about $350,000 for a studio, and that's walkable to the metro and being right in the mix. The further you go out from that metro, as far as condo wise, it's going to get more affordable. So if you're, a half a mile to that in the older buildings, you might be looking in the 200s for a 1 bedroom. But as you get into South Arlington, there's so many different cool areas of Arlington. I've been talking a lot about North Arlington because that's where I do most of my business. That's where I live. But there's also Shirlington, which is a more affordable area. It doesn't have access to the metro, but it's just a really cool area. Small, maybe 3 or 4 blocks of restaurants and nightlife, which, you can find something out there in the Shirlington area for, in the 200s to 300s for a 1 bedroom, and be able to walk to that. And that's still like, a lot of people work at the Pentagon or the new HQ2. And so those areas, the South Arlington and Shirlington, are very accessible straight down 395. It's only a couple mile commute into the Pentagon or HQ2. And there's plenty of bus stops on that side as well. So you can get those into the Pentagon as well. But then along the metro lines, you have the Orange Line that runs through North Arlington, and you've got the blue-yellow line that runs through South Arlington and Alexandria that comes up and meets in Roslyn.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not really anything that I've touched on because I haven't needed to. Is the public transportation seems to be really solid out there. Is there anything that you don't like about these the tram lines or anything like that?
The transportation is amazing. I don't use it as much because I don't have to commute, but I own half a season of Caps tickets, so I'm using it to get to the Caps games. There's nothing I don't like about it. What's happened in the last few years is they've expanded that metro out further, so it goes way out into Western Virginia, and the use of it since COVID has gone down naturally because not as many people are commuting, but it's a solid transportation system.
And
it's very convenient. This is partially, it depends on where you are. In Arlington, along the Roslyn-Ballston corridor, you're underground.
Oh, cool.
So as soon as you hit that Ballston, right before you hit Ballston coming in, you're going to go underground. You'll be underground until you go across the bridge into DC.
Cool.
And then the orange-blue line is partial above, partial under. It comes up at the Arlington Cemetery, goes back under into Roslyn, and then connects in. So.
How long does it take to get from like downtown Arlington to DC?
On the metro, probably 15 minutes.
Not bad. Well, Shawn, that's a lot of really, really great information on Arlington. I know I learned something new. I hope that you guys did too. If you're looking to move to the DC area, of course, consider Arlington. It seems like a great place for younger couples, or even if you have a small family, or even if you're looking to retire. There's some nicer homes out there and a lot of really great nature. So if you're wanting to do that, of course, reach out to Shawn. He's a great option, and they'd love to help you out. Book a call with us and we can help steer you in the right direction if you're not sure where to go. But yeah, Shawn, thanks for coming on today. And it was good talking with you.
Really appreciate it, Zach. Thank you.